All right, NBCC core values and beliefs. And we know our core values and beliefs affect these decisions for sure. So we need the application of the code of ethics for guidelines. Let's look at this scenario. I'm going to call this one angry teens. Okay, Carlos is a 16-year-old male who refuses to go to school and associates with a Hispanic neighborhood gang. He recently attacked an in the parking lot at a shopping mall to steal her purse and was placed on probation for 2 years. And this is close to a true account. He was court ordered to attend an anger management group with Jason, a 42-year-old male counselor. While attending anger management, Carlos showed hostility towards a 13-year-old male attendant, Rahul. So Jason reviewed the guidelines for the group in an attempt to set firm boundaries with their behavior. However, Carlos continues to stare angrily at Rahul, and Rahul appears shaken by it and expresses his concern to the counselor. Since both teens are actively involved in gangs, Jason's experiencing anxiety and worried about what could happen. What values and beliefs need to be considered when addressing Carlos and Rahul? Okay, so going through this next section, the first section, core values and beliefs with the angry teens. So look at the core values and beliefs and just throw up there in Q&A if that core value and belief fits for this scenario, or we need it for this scenario. So counselors will be civil in their actions and words, avoiding arrogance, assumptions, and excessive pride. I call that puffy chest syndrome because I worked with law enforcement people for so many years. And at times, we as humans can get what I call puffy chest syndrome. I have a badge, therefore, and we don't want to have that as counselors because we don't want to do any harm. We want to be there and make people feel safe when they're with us. Counselors seek to listen to others with intention and respond with respect. So he's come to us in the angry teen scenario, concerned and a little bit worried about this other gang member in a different gang staring at him. When engaged in challenging dialogues, counselors do so to seek answers, not confrontations or harm. Also, counselors strive to be sensitive to differences in attitudes and culture. Counselors also always seek to minimize undue harm and take particular care for those who are vulnerable or in anguish. So when I read these codes, it made me think of working in law enforcement. And although I enjoyed it a lot, there is attitude sometimes, and people don't understand the difference, and they like some people more than others when they're involved in groups. And so some of the people I have worked with in the past were arrogant and made assumptions with great pride in their choices. And I always believed even then that there should be an honorable written code to follow for all professions, really. But when there isn't, things can happen. We have a code, which is so helpful because it keeps, if we follow the code of ethics, all of us together, we're going to have a pretty good profession out there with a great reputation, and people are going to feel safe coming to us. So I love that we have a written code of ethics because I didn't have one in law enforcement. It's so much better to be curious about what's going on in other people's lives instead of assuming and judging. And this code states that we're to act in a way that looks for answers that create no harm. I worked in the prison with felons and had to remove people from the group. You have to complete this in order to move forward in your treatment here, and you won't be able to get out if you don't complete it. So hopefully you'll want to follow these rules because it's to your benefit if you do. If you don't, you're making a choice not to be in the group and not complete. And there are many times when the guard had to come and take them out because you want everybody to feel safe. If somebody's acting out, you got to remove that person. With respect to all clients and work, counselors seek to be mindful of their humanity as they fulfill their counseling duties. Let's move on with more core values and beliefs. Now, my intern supervisor talked about self-care, and she said she scheduled massages weekly for herself because this one says that we have to engage in self-care and self-reflection. So I remember her sitting there, and I'm in my class getting my degree in counseling, and she said, when she said she went for massages, I'm like, really? That's expensive. I don't know if I'll be doing that. Well, it was a year later and I started doing that. You really do have to consider self-care. In fact, it's in the code of ethics. So if anybody asks why you spending all that money doing that or doing this, because we are called to do that. We have signed on for this code of ethics. So we're allowed to take care of ourselves. Counselors strive to enhance the social and mental well-being of their clients while supporting the overall physical health of each client. with this code, we have an ethical responsibility to provide the best service possible to promote the best outcome for our clients. This code also states we're to make sure everyone has access to mental health services, which can be difficult at times. For instance, when they don't live in an area with internet or phone service, or they don't own a tablet or a computer, there are resources available for some of these things, and we're to use them. So I appreciate this too, because we're not just in this to make money. We're in this because we want to take care of people and help people to get well. And so we sometimes doing things pro bono or doing things in the community to promote well-being in the community. I remember in Illinois when I lived there, they had the counselors had a once-a-year big event at the center in town, and they would all come and they would bring brochures and handouts and stress balls and all these nice things and puzzles for the children and books about emotions, and it was really a fun day. And people came and they signed, some of them signed up for counseling, and some of them came because they were in counseling, and even the hospitals got involved after a while, and they were taking blood tests and doing all kinds of heart rates, and it was a great event, and nobody got paid for that, but it was something that we did to promote. So when you provide services to all of those in need, utilizing available resources, people out there are businesses out there that want to help. So I remember one time I needed, this kind of relates, because I needed to feed 300 people because of a funeral. A 19-year-old didn't come back from Afghanistan. And so I didn't know how I was going to do that. So I went to the neighborhood, I'm Italian, so I went to the neighborhood Italian restaurant. They gave me all the spaghetti and salad I needed for 300 people. I went to Walmart and they said, fill the shopping cart up with anything you need. I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They gave me chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy for the next day. I mean, there was no one that turned me down. And the reason I share that is because there are good people out there that don't know how to help. They want to help and they don't know how. And big organizations have money set aside to do this, to help their customers. So sometimes all we have to do is ask. So if somebody can't do therapy because they don't have a tablet or something of that nature, they don't have a tablet, they don't have a computer, maybe you can go to one of these organizations and they'll donate them, or possibly they'll donate money so you can put it in your budget and you can get them. There's just many ways to meet the needs of people that don't have what it takes to do counseling with us. And certified counselors, with this code, we have an ethical responsibility to provide the best service possible for the best outcome for our clients. We have to make sure everyone has access to mental health, which can be difficult at times if they don't live in the right areas. And certified counselors and candidates demonstrate their commitment to ethical behaviors by demonstrating and representing to their clients sensitivity to multicultural issues. We want to avoid discrimination, oppression, or any form of social injustice. So let's look at this scenario. Carl is a counselor who works in a community where there is a significant wealth gap. This gives you an example of possibly injustice. A client, Sarah, a college student who drives 1 hour to sessions, is struggling with depression. Sarah reveals that she's having financial difficulties and is overwhelmed by the societal pressure to succeed. Carl learns that Sarah's anxiety is worsened by her inability to afford therapy sessions. So what can we do here? Ethically, the counselor is faced with economic inequality and needs to navigate how to provide an effective therapy within Sarah's financial ability. What are some options that would be ethically appropriate and in line with the code of ethics? All right, every sturdy tree that towers over human beings owes its existence to a deeply rooted core. Isn't that a neat quote? I like that. And that ends our section on core values and beliefs. So that's the first section of our code of ethics. But let me summarize the discussion. The counselor could explore alternative resources such as community mental health centers, or look for funding at agencies in the community. The counselor could work with Sarah to develop coping strategies that would help with the anxiety, and even cognitive behavioral approaches. And the counselor must also acknowledge the systemic factors contributing to Sarah's distress and advocate for broader social change to address economic disparities.